I never thought my wife would look me in the eyes and say something so outrageous. Just one night. That's all I'm asking for. Her voice was calm, too calm. Like she was asking to borrow my car, not to sleep with another man. I felt my stomach drop. My hands clenched the edge of the kitchen counter, my mind racing. She couldn't be serious. You want me to let you sleep with someone else? I finally asked, my voice barely above a whisper. She didn't even flinch. Instead, she took a slow sip of her wine and nodded. It's just one night. No feelings. Just something different. Something different. My wife, was asking for permission to betray me. And the worst part, there wasn't a trace of guilt in her eyes. I wanted to believe this was some kind of sick joke. But deep down, I knew this wasn't the first time she had thought about it. And if she had the guts to ask me now, maybe it wasn't even the first time she had done it. When I first met Emily, I thought I had won the lottery. She was the kind of woman who could walk into a room and instantly become the center of attention, not because she tried, but because something about her just drew people in. Her smile had a way of making me forget about everything else, and her laugh. God, her laugh. It made me feel like the luckiest man alive. We met in college, a classic love story. She was the confident, adventurous one, always pushing me to step out of my comfort zone. I was the quiet, steady presence in her life, the one who made sure she got home safe after a wild night out, the one who listened to her endless dreams and believed in every single one of them. Our relationship wasn't perfect, but it was real. We fought, we made up, we grew together. And when I finally proposed on a trip to Italy, standing under a sky full of stars, she cried and told me she couldn't imagine life without me. For years, I believed her. We built a life together. A beautiful house, careers that gave us purpose, a marriage that, at least from the outside, looked like something out of a fairy tale. We had inside jokes, late-night movie marathons, weekend road trips where she would sing off-key just to make me laugh. I loved her, and I truly believed she loved me too. But looking back, I realize now that love alone was never enough. Underscore 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 underscore. The first red flag was small, so small I brushed it off without a second thought. Emily had always been a social butterfly, so when she started going out more often with her coworkers, I didn't think much of it. Networking, she called it. Happy hours, work dinners, the occasional weekend event. I wanted to be the supportive husband, the guy who trusted his wife completely. But then, she started dressing differently. Not just nice. Emily always dressed well, but different. Tighter dresses. More makeup. Perfume so strong that it lingered in the air long after she left. I joked about it once. Wow, you're really dressing up for these work events, huh? She just laughed, rolling her eyes. You always say I look good when I dress up. Shouldn't you be happy? I let it go. Maybe I should have been happy. Maybe I was overthinking. But then came the second red flag. Her phone. Emily had never been the type to guard her phone like a secret agent. We used to scroll through each other's playlists, send memes back and forth, even share passwords for convenience. But suddenly, her phone was always face down. Always on silent. And when she texted, she angled the screen away from me, like she was hiding something. One night, while we were sitting on the couch, her phone buzzed. She snatched it up so fast it startled me. Who's that? I asked casually. Just work stuff, she replied, just as casually. But I noticed the way her fingers tightened around the phone. Again, I let it go. I didn't want to be the jealous, paranoid husband. That wasn't me. Emily had never given me a real reason not to trust her. At least not yet. Underscore 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 underscore. The third red flag was impossible to ignore. It was a Saturday morning, and Emily was getting ready to go out. Another work thing? I asked, sipping my coffee. She hesitated, just for a second, before nodding. Yeah, team building event. I frowned. Since when did her company do team building on weekends? Where's it at? Just a hotel downtown. Some seminar thing. She was lying. I felt it, but I had no proof. So I did something I had never done before. When she left, I followed her. I told myself it was nothing, that I was just being ridiculous. But as I drove a few cars behind her, watching as she turned down an unfamiliar street and parked in front of an upscale bar, not a hotel, not a seminar, my stomach twisted into knots. She walked inside, and less than a minute later, a man followed. Tall, well-dressed, confident. He didn't look like a co-worker. I sat there, gripping the steering wheel, so tightly my knuckles turned white. I wanted to storm in. I wanted to demand answers. But instead, I sat there watching as my wife, my Emily, disappeared into that bar with another man. And in that moment, a terrible thought crossed my mind. What if this isn't the first time? What if I had been blind this whole time? What if the woman I loved had been lying to me for longer than I could even imagine? That night, Emily came home like nothing had happened. She walked in, kicked off her heels, and stretched her arms over her head like she'd had the most exhausting day. "You're still up?" she asked, dropping her purse onto the table. I forced a smile, though my stomach was in knots. Still up? How could I possibly sleep when my mind was running 100 miles an hour? "Yeah," I said casually, watching her closely. "How was the seminar?" Emily didn't even blink. "Oh, it was fine. Long, kind of boring. But, work stuff." She said it so easily, so naturally. If I hadn't seen her walk into that bar with another man, I would have believed her. I felt my fingers twitch. My body was screaming at me to confront her right then and there. To tell her I knew she was lying. But something stopped me. Maybe I wasn't ready to hear the truth. Maybe I needed more proof. So instead, I nodded, pretending to accept her lie. But inside, something in me had shifted. I had trusted her blindly for years. Now, I was finally seeing the cracks. Underscore, 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 underscore. Over the next few days, my suspicions grew. Emily was different. It wasn't just the late nights or the constant texting, it was her. She wasn't as affectionate. She barely kissed me when she got home. When we sat on the couch, she kept her phone in her lap, subtly angling the screen away from me. At night, she didn't curl up against me like she used to. Instead, she lay on her side, phone in hand, scrolling endlessly. "Who are you texting so much?" I asked one night, keeping my tone light. Emily didn't even look up. "Just some work stuff." "Must be important," I pressed. She sighed, locking her phone. "You're acting weird lately." I almost laughed. "I'm acting weird? I don't know, Em. Maybe I just miss you." It wasn't a lie. I did miss her. Or at least, I missed the version of her that used to look at me like I was the only man in the world. She softened slightly, reaching out to touch my hand. "I know work has been a lot lately. Things should calm down soon." She was lying. I could see it in her eyes, hear it in the way her voice wavered just a little too much. But I didn't call her out. Not yet. A week later, the lies started getting bolder. It was a Friday night, and Emily was getting ready to go out again. "Let me guess," I said, leaning against the doorframe, arms crossed. "Work event." She hesitated just for a second. "Yeah, it's last minute, but I kind of have to go." "Where's it at?" "A hotel downtown." The same lie. The same calm, practiced tone. I forced myself to nod. "Okay, have fun." She looked at me, almost as if she was waiting for me to question her. Maybe even daring me to. But I didn't. Instead, I watched as she grabbed her keys, kissed me quickly on the cheek, no warmth, no love, then walked out the door. And this time, I didn't just follow her. I planned ahead. Underscore, 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 underscore. I called my friend Jake. "I need a favor." Jake had been my best friend since college. He knew me better than anyone, which meant he picked up on my tone immediately. "What's going on?" "Emily," I said simply. A pause. Then, "Tell me where you need me to be." An hour later, Jake and I sat in my car, parked down the street from the bar. And just like before, I watched as Emily walked inside, except this time, I wasn't alone. "Damn," Jake muttered beside me. "That's not a work event." No, it wasn't. And when the same man from last time showed up, his hand grazing the small of Emily's back as they slipped inside together, I felt something inside me snap. It wasn't just suspicion anymore. It was confirmation. She was cheating. And the worst part, she didn't even try to hide it. I sat in the car, my fingers tightening around the steering wheel, as I watched my wife disappear into the bar with another man. Jake let out a slow breath beside me. "What do you want to do, man?" I didn't answer right away. My chest was tight, my pulse hammering in my ears. I felt like I was outside of my own body, watching my life crumble in real time. I had suspected it. I had known it. But seeing it happen, watching her so casually walk into another man's arms, it was something else entirely. "I need to be sure," I finally muttered. Jake nodded. "I got your back." I climbed out of the car, my hands shaking, as I pushed open the bar's door. Inside, dim lighting cast a golden glow over the polished wood tables and red leather booths. Laughter and music filled the air, but I barely heard it. My eyes scanned the room, and then I saw them. Emily and him. They were tucked away in a corner booth, her body angled toward him, her hand resting lightly on his wrist as she laughed at something he said. She looked happy, carefree, like she hadn't just kissed her husband goodbye an hour ago. My stomach twisted. For a moment, I just stood there, frozen, my heart hammering against my ribs. Then, slowly, I pulled out my phone. I snapped a photo, then another. My hands were shaking, but I forced myself to stay steady. If she was going to lie to my face, if she was going to gaslight me into believing I was crazy, I needed proof. And then I did something reckless. I walked right up to the table. Emily was mid-sentence when I spoke. "Am I interrupting?" Her head snapped up. For the first time in our marriage, I saw something in her eyes that I had never seen before. Pure, unfiltered panic. "Oh my God," she started, her voice shaky, but I cut her off. "Go ahead, Emily. Introduce me to your work event." The man, mid-30s, sharp suit, the kind of confidence that made my blood boil, cleared his throat. "I think maybe I should." "Sit your ass down," I said, my voice dangerously low. He hesitated, then slowly settled back into his seat. Emily looked like she wanted to disappear. "It's not what it looks like," she rushed out. I actually laughed. A hollow, bitter sound. "Really? Because it looks like you're on a date with another man. And it definitely looks like this isn't the first time." Her mouth opened, closed. She had nothing, because she knew she was caught. And then her phone buzzed. She flinched. Without thinking, I reached down and grabbed it before she could. I didn't care if it was wrong. I didn't care if I was invading her privacy. She had already destroyed mine. The screen was still lit up, a message preview glowing at the top. "Can't wait for later tonight. Wish I didn't have to leave yet. Winky face." My stomach dropped. I looked at her, my hands trembling. "How long?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. Emily swallowed hard. It doesn't matter." I let out a sharp, bitter laugh. "It matters to me." Her eyes darted to the man across from her, as if searching for some kind of answer. "It was just a few times," she finally muttered. My jaw clenched. "A few times." Her silence said it all. I felt something inside me break. All those late nights. The perfume. The secrecy. The lies. All the moments I had told myself I was just being paranoid. She had chosen this. "I gave you everything," I said, my voice tight with betrayal. "And you threw it away for what? Some cheap thrill." Emily's eyes filled with tears, but I didn't care. She wasn't crying because she regretted it. She was crying because she got caught. I turned to the man, her affair partner, because that's what he was now. "I hope she's worth it," I said coldly. Then, without another word, I tossed her phone onto the table and walked away. She didn't chase after me, and that was the final confirmation I needed. I drove home in silence, my hands gripping the wheel so tightly my knuckles turned white. I wasn't sure what I felt more, rage or heartbreak. It was a toxic mix of both, swirling in my chest like a storm I couldn't control. Emily, the woman I had loved, the woman I had trusted, and she had thrown it all away. By the time I pulled into the driveway, my pulse was hammering, my mind a mess of thoughts I couldn't untangle. I wasn't done. She owed me answers. Minutes passed before I heard her car pull up behind mine. I stood by the front door waiting. She stepped out, moving cautiously, her face streaked with tears. "Look," she started, but I held up a hand, cutting her off. "Inside. Now." She hesitated, then swallowed hard and nodded. We stepped inside, and I slammed the door shut behind us. The sound echoed through the house, our house, the one we built together. The silence between us stretched, thick and suffocating. Then, finally, I turned to her. "How long, Emily?" She crossed her arms, as if trying to protect herself. "I told you. A few times." A few times. I let out a bitter laugh. That's supposed to make it better. Her lip trembled, but I wasn't going to let her cry her way out of this. Tell me the truth. From the beginning. Don't you dare lie to me again. She wiped at her eyes, exhaling shakily. It started a few months ago, she admitted. At first, it was just texting. Harmless. But then, it turned into something else. Something else, I repeated, my voice hollow. So what? You just fell into his bed. She flinched. It wasn't like that. Then tell me, Emily. What was it like? Her silence spoke louder than any excuse she could have given me. I ran a hand through my hair, pacing the room. My mind raced, replaying every moment I had ignored, every red flag I had pushed aside because I trusted her. Why? I finally asked. Was I not enough for you? Her head snapped up, eyes wide. No, that's not. Then why? I demanded. She let out a shaky breath. I don't know, she whispered. I felt like something was missing. I stared at her. Something was missing, I echoed. So instead of talking to me, instead of trying to fix our marriage, you went behind my back. Tears spilled down her cheeks. I didn't mean for it to happen this way. But it did, I said coldly. And you didn't stop it. She looked down, her fingers twisting together. I thought maybe it was just a phase. That I'd get it out of my system, and things would go back to normal. I actually laughed. A sharp, bitter sound. Normal. I shook my head. You think we can ever be normal again, Emily? Her shoulders shook as she sobbed, but I felt nothing. Not sympathy. Not sadness. Just a deep, aching betrayal. I love you, she whispered, her voice barely audible. I stared at her, my chest hollow. No, you don't. She gasped, like I had slapped her. You don't destroy the person you love, Emily. You don't lie to their face, make them doubt themselves, and sneak around behind their back. She stepped closer. Please, we can fix this. I stepped away. There is no we anymore. Her face crumpled. I don't want to lose you. You already did. And with that, I turned and walked away. I didn't slam the door. I didn't scream. I just left, because there was nothing left to say. I didn't sleep that night. I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, listening to the sound of Emily crying in the next room. She didn't come to bed. She didn't try to crawl into my arms like she used to after a fight. Because this wasn't a fight. This was the end. Morning came too quickly. I got up, showered, and got dressed like it was any other day. But inside I felt hollow. Like something inside me had cracked beyond repair. When I stepped into the kitchen, Emily was there, sitting at the table with a cup of coffee in front of her. She looked exhausted, dark circles under her eyes, her hair a mess. We need to talk, she said, her voice hoarse. I grabbed a mug from the cupboard, poured myself some coffee, and leaned against the counter. Talk, I said flatly. She hesitated. I know I hurt you. I scoffed. That's an understatement. Her hands trembled as she wrapped them around her mug. But I don't want to lose you. Please, we can fix this. We can go to therapy, we can... Stop. My voice was calm but firm. Her eyes welled up with fresh tears. I love you. I exhaled, staring at her. This woman who had been my everything. If you loved me, you wouldn't have done this. I made a mistake, she pleaded. I tilted my head. A mistake is forgetting an anniversary. A mistake is saying something hurtful in an argument. Cheating isn't a mistake, Emily. It's a choice. Her lip trembled. I can't trust you anymore, I continued. And without trust, there's nothing left. She broke down, sobbing into her hands. Please don't do this. But I had already made my decision. I walked over to the counter, picked up the envelope I had prepared last night, and placed it in front of her. She looked at it, confused. What is this? Divorce papers. Her breath hitched. You already had these. No, I printed them last night. I met her gaze. Because I'm done. She shook her head violently. No, we can work through this. I don't want to. The words hung in the air between us. She wiped at her face, sniffing hard. You're serious. Dead serious. Silence. Then she let out a broken laugh. So that's it. You're just going to throw everything away. That made me snap. I'm throwing everything away? I barked. You threw it away, Emily. The moment you chose to be with him, you ended us. I just didn't know it yet. She looked down, her body shaking. I sighed, running a hand through my hair. I'm not going to expose you. I'm not going to humiliate you. But I am walking away. I stepped back, looking at her one last time. And you have to live with that. I grabbed my keys, took one last sip of my coffee, and turned for the door. "Wait," she cried, standing up. I stopped, but didn't turn around. Do you think you'll ever forgive me?" Her voice was small, weak. I thought about it. Then I shook my head. "No." And with that, I walked out, leaving her to drown in her own guilt.